Welcome to tonight's Fireside Fridays with your host, Alona Minkowski.
Today, Defense Secretary Leon Panetta gave a speech to troops at Fort Benning. Now, the focus of this speech was discipline. After the numerous incidents this year in Afghanistan, the military has launched a new campaign to remind U.S. forces that they're representing the American people and need to behave up to military standards. Now, what incidents am I talking about? Well, there was the video of troops urinating on Taliban corpses, the photos that were released to the LA Times of troops posing with an insurgent corpse, the burning of Qurans at Parwan that led to protests all across Afghanistan, and, of course, the massacre of 17 civilians, allegedly by Staff Sergeant Robert Bales. Now, not only have these incidents affected public perception of the war here at home, but they clearly affect the perception of the war in Afghanistan itself. And some of these events are horrifying. The massacre of women and children is inexcusable, and nobody would argue otherwise. And the young soldier that gave photos over to the LA Times, well, he claimed that his reason for putting them out into the open was a breakdown of leadership in his unit that he felt contributed to these kinds of actions. But the thing is, it's about so much more than that. If you want to target mid-level commanders, I think you also have to speak about those at the top. The generals that testify before Congress, that speak to the press and give false evaluations of how well the war is going. Now, we've documented time and time again on the show how the facts and the figures don't add up to what the leadership tells us. Not only that, but we have to realize what over 10 years of war can do to people. Multiple deployments, fatigue, a crisis of conscience and confidence. The broad question of what exactly are these men and women fighting for? Now, that was a question that President Obama left broadly unanswered this week when he flew into Kabul for a surprise visit to sign a strategic agreement with Hamid Karzai and mark the one-year anniversary of the death of Osama bin Laden. Now, the president tried to sell it as the beginning of the end of this war. He said that the war began in Afghanistan and would end there, this decade of war. He said that, of course, without acknowledging that we have multiple shadow wars going on that will remain ongoing in Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia. And he said all that despite the fact that this strategic agreement involves a commitment of 10 more years past 2014, a commitment of aid and assistance for which no numbers have yet been given. Now, he said the troops will continue to fight and risk and lose their lives until 2014, and some will beyond. And he said it's because we have to end this war responsibly. What does that even mean? How do you end the longest conflict in U.S. history, which has been a series of failures, responsibly? And more importantly, how do you remind troops that they have an image and standards to uphold when the commander-in-chief has not responsibly laid out why they're still going to be there, to what end it will all serve? And none of this is to say that there isn't a talk to be had with the commanders, with the troops, that a breakdown in leadership and in discipline is a contributing factor to what's been going on. But let's not brush over the obvious. Let's not ignore the fact that these troops have been overstretched, over-deployed, all at the command of the president and the military leadership who have not made their case for why.